So hopefully you guys have had a fun day by the sounds of it and talking to a couple of people. It seems like it's been a good event. So I know a lot of you are looking to get home here, so we won't take up all night from you, but we'll kind of get through. Start off with a little bit about myself. That's the uninteresting part, and then a little bit about kind of business startup and some of what goes into it, and some of the maybe struggles or difficulties you may face or may have to think about if you're starting up your own business. So backstory for myself, just a little bit. Originally born in Scotland, I moved to Columbus, Georgia when I was 10 years old. I've been here ever since. Despite my wife wanting to move back to the UK, we're still here. Used to play a lot of golf. Obviously, I like Lego. Otherwise, I think I'm probably in the wrong business. Love spending time with my girls. I've got a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old, and pretty much if I'm not working, they're playing with them. So, a little bit of background on work history for me. First job I ever had was a vet clinic. It was entry level. It was kind of a necessity job, as in my parents came home in the middle of the day in the summer and said, "Get out of bed and go find a job." So, I think like a lot of teenagers, I got my freedom with my car, and I used that freedom and stayed in bed all day long because I could do whatever I wanted at that point in time. So anyway, they told me to go get a job. I went out and found one and started next day, hired me on the spot, and it was cleaning runs, cleaning kennels, taking care of the animals, bathing dogs. Spent 2 years there. By the time I left, I was assistant in surgery and in the clinic rooms, and just a lot of good work experience and a lot of fun. And something I thought for a while there I may have pursued as a career, going into the vet field. But there's a lot to it, and the toughest part for me, those animals come in and sometimes they don't go back out again, and that became draining, and realized for me that wasn't going to be a future plan. So I left the vet clinic and I got an awesome job as a third shift gas station clerk. I was in college at the time, and I worked Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, 12-hour shifts, and man, it was rough. I see a lot of characters coming in. Most people don't go to the gas station at 3 or 4 in the morning. It's kind of in a couple of shady parts of town. I bounced back and forth, so a lot of stories from that. But you know what? It helped pay the bills, and it allowed me to focus on college during the week. After that, I got a job at Home Depot. So it was supposed to be just part-time. Started part-time in Columbus. Worked my way up. When we opened the Phoenix City store, got promoted to department manager there. Spent just at 5 years at Home Depot. Got recruited out by district manager at Big Lots, who used to be a district manager for Home Depot. So made the jump. Sounded like a great story. Put in a lot of hours. If anyone's familiar with Big Lots, it's kind of discount resale. They get whatever they can and turn around and sell it. So it turned into a lot of hours. And during that time, my wife and I had our first child. And I spent most of that at Big Lots and not at home watching her grow up. So I decided, hey, it's time for me to go find something where I have more time at home. I've got more of a set schedule. I'm not working 6-7 days a week, 70, 80, 90 hours a week. So kind of took a step back and went to go be a sales rep for Coca-Cola. That was early spring. Stayed with them for a few months, and they did after summer cutoffs. A lot of companies build up in the summer, so I was kind of one of those last guys in, first one out. But thankfully, after that, I got with Nestle, another big food service industry. Everybody's probably heard of them. A lot of stuff going on, but spent 5 years with Nestle. Started as a route driver with them, doing sales for their pizza and ice cream lines. By the time I left, I was district sales manager for them, covering Atlanta, Georgia, all the way down to the Florida line, and kind of Montgomery, Alabama, across through Macon. So pretty big territory, a lot of guys working, and a lot of fun. But still, I found myself spending a lot of time away from home. We had our second daughter when I was at Nestle, and I wanted to have something where I was at home every day. I wasn't traveling. I wasn't spending the nights in hotel rooms. So I came up with this bright idea to become self-employed. I started doing research, and that's when I, in the process, came up with Bricks and Minifigs. So we spent a lot of time, and this wasn't a 2-week process or a 2-month process. This was, kind of a 2-year process, finding out what the right fit was going to be. My oldest daughter had gotten into Legos. I was an absolute Lego nut as a kid, and I think like most kids, it goes in a closet at some point in time. You forget about it. You get into high school, and it's all about, fitting in, or girls or boys, and, being the cool one, or what clubs you want to be in, and all that sort of stuff. And the Lego just kind of got lost to the dark closet, covered in dust. So we'd gotten it all back out. Thankfully, my parents never threw it away. They held on to it in the dark depths. And my 9-year-old was able to get it out. I mean, she was, 5 or 6 at the time, and start playing with it and kind of got that passion reinvigorated in myself. So I started looking, what can I do that's going to be fun for me and fun for the kids and fun for the family as well. And Found Bricks and Minifigs. Anybody that's not, like Anthony said, we're a reseller of Lego product. That's all we do. We buy, sell, trade Lego. We do other things, camps, birthday parties, events. We just wrapped up a stop animation camp this week for the kids. So teaching the kids stop animation techniques and kind of the intro into that. It's the third one we've done at the store this year. So kids love it. It's, big success. It's my favorite one of all the camps that we do. Because it's hands-on, nothing but complete imagination. And the kids can go home and they can do it themselves, It takes nothing more than an iPhone or any kind of smartphone these days or tablet, and off they go. So like I said, why Bricks and Minifigs for me? Lego was important. It's kind of ageless. Just as many adult collector and stuff as you do young kids playing with it a lot. So lots more with adult collectors, and they're serious and they're looking for specific things. It's an educational toy. I mean, again, you'll see architects that have Lego in their buildings. They use it for kind of small scale modeling, kind of get an idea how things go together. Encourages creativity. One set of Lego, if anybody knows, I mean, it's endless. Just because the picture on the box says, hey, this is supposed to be a spaceship, it doesn't mean that's what it has to be. You can put those bricks together any way you want, and the sky's the limit. And it's a beautiful form of art. I'm sure everybody's probably seen Lego sculptures or mosaics out there, and it's just something to be very unique. And so for me, that was just something that aligned and it clicked. And after seeing a few stores, I went home after a road trip, told my wife, this is it. Let's go plan a road trip so you can see one. And she was on board before we ever took that road trip. She done the homework, but was sold on the idea too. Took her to see the Memphis store, and she fell in love as well. So small business dream, and I think a lot of people, you want to be your own boss. You want to do things your way, and there's a lot of reasons why. Let's go. Here we go. I've got to click on the right part of the screen. As you see, tech is not my forte. So yeah, small business dream, one of the reasons a lot of people want to be your own boss, you want to set that own schedule and you want to do it the way you want to do it. The reality of small business, though, is not necessarily always that way. There's tons of government rules and regulations that you've got to follow. You may want to do it this way, but legally you might not be allowed to. At the end of the day, your business revolves around one thing, and that's the consumer. Whether it's brick and mortar and you've got a retail store, whether it's software development that you're developing for someone, at the end of the day, the consumer is the one that's going to drive how successful you are or what you're working on. And HR and legal, I mean, anybody that's worked before, HR and legal department, they can be your best friends or your worst enemies. I always look at them as a best friend. It's a great thing to bounce people off. There's a lot of contacts I've got from, previous jobs, especially some of those corporate ones, and it's the ones you want to hold on to. Because you ever have a question in mind, I mean, HR and legal is one of those important things. You can get yourself in a whole lot of trouble, both from a business standpoint and from an actual government standpoint as well, if you're not in line with that. So even though you may want to do something some way, there's a lot more that goes into it. So franchising, a brief thing for anybody that doesn't know, I'm sure everybody knows of past franchises every single day. You pass Burger King or a Domino's, Bricks and Minifigs, Plato's Closet. There's a lot of franchises out there. But basically, it's a method for expanding a business model or distributorship through services through a licensing agreement. So the franchisor who owns the right to this business model says, hey, we want to expand. We don't want to do it necessarily ourselves. So we'll sell the business model out and we'll provide support from the back end. So advantages of it, you get that freedom of small business ownership, but you got that large support network behind you. If you decide you want to go and open a McDonald's franchise, obviously you've got a multi-billion-dollar corporation that knows what's going on, that guides you through that process. You don't have to necessarily have any business experience with a franchise. There's a lot of training and a lot of knowledge in behind there. You get on a early end of a franchise, it's maybe just as budding, they have a few locations. Obviously, you're not going to get that same network. You open a McDonald's store, everything's already there. They're going to come in and tell you where to put it, how to run it, what to do, how many payroll hours to spend, how to order your product. But depending on what your goals are, you can go in there and you can have a little bit of knowledge, you can have a little bit of business knowledge or a lot of business knowledge, and depending on how involved you want to be in the setup. Franchises have a higher success rate compared to other small businesses, startups. So everyone's probably heard stats, and the stats will vary from whichever source you look at it. But The general one that seems to be on is most small businesses ultimately fail within the first year. And most small businesses don't fail from a lack of understanding of the product or the knowledge or the service that they're driving. It's the lack of knowledge and behind it and the ability to run that business. And finally, a lot of franchises haven't that established reputation. So you can go in and you're not building from scratch. There's a lot of disadvantages too. You sign up for a franchise, you got a formal agreement with that franchisor. So you're signing a legal document saying, hey, I give you this in return for this. And generally it's a set period of time, 5 years, 10 years, 3 years, depending on who it is. It's not something you can go a year down the road and say, hey, you know, I don't want to do this anymore. At that point in time, you're committed to it. You can't just close the doors, lock up shop, and go home. It's less flexible on how you run your business. There's rules in place, there's regulations, you have a set business model. Again, depending on the level of the franchise and what kind of franchise, it may be generalities on how you run things, or it may be very strict in terms of this is the absolute process for the entire day, and this is the process that you follow from the minute you walk in the door to the minute you close down. Profit sharing with the franchisor. So when you sign up for that franchise agreement, they're going to take a percentage of your sales. So that's what they get out of the agreement. And that's every single month. So it doesn't matter how much you make, they're going to get that set percentage. And it varies based on the franchise, but that's something you owe to them. And most of them are going to have minimums in there. So if you have a bad sales month and you don't meet that minimum, you're still going to pay more than that. So you still have to cut the check to the franchise because they're going to get a certain amount out of the deal at the end of the month as well. And the worst thing, no guarantee that the franchisor has to renew your contract. So maybe you've got a 3-year contract or a 5-year contract. Things are going great for you. The end of that time period, you're looking to sign up for another 5 years, and the franchisor says, you know what? We really don't want Bricks and Minifigs in Columbus anymore. It's not ideal market. It's not working out for us. We're not going to renew with you anymore. Now, most of the time, if you're running a successful business, the franchisor is not going to do that. But if they have a corporate shift on their top end, or their dynamic shift as to what their ultimate goals are, you could catch yourself in a situation like that as well. So the biggest thing running the business is there's a whole lot of stuff that you think you know going in, and you're going to find out that there's a whole lot more that you don't know, and it's going to be all situational. So when challenges arise, where do you go for help? If you're self-employed, you have your own small business, you don't have that HR or legal department down the hallway like you may have in a big company. You don't have a marketing team to work on marketing to push your product. And you have to know where you want to go in order to get help with that. There's a lot of consultants out there that you can use, but consultants are expensive. You also have to be able to weed out, and you have to be able to audit the consultants as well. So you're working with a legal team, you want to make sure that they're up to par, or HR, on the current laws, current legalities, current hiring practices. And you have to know when they give you that information, that the information is good. And you have to be able to check on that. Accounting, you're now your own accountant unless you hire that or contract out with somebody else. And putting your money in somebody else's hands for your business is a big deal. You got to make sure that you have the ability to audit your account. So if you don't have some background in accounting and how your cash flow works, you can end up in a lot of trouble. You have to be able to go behind every single month, look at the paperwork, or every quarter, or however you set it up, and say, this is what my accountant says I made, this is what I spent, here are my biggest expenditures, and make sure that those numbers are good. And at the end of the day, make sure that your bottom line is healthy and growing. So every problem lands on your desk. End of story. You're a business owner. You got to be a jack of all trades. Whether it's a maintenance problem and the bathroom's not working, whether it's lights are going out, you lose your internet service and you have to figure out how to run a transaction or how to upload code or whatever the case may be, you have to know how to fix every problem or know how to immediately get in contact with somebody that can. Like we talked about, hiring outside help and consultants, we won't drain that, but the big thing is you got to know where to go. So sales, service, and marketing, one of the biggest for small businesses. What are you selling? Are you selling code for a new game? Are you selling product in a store? Are you selling an online service? Are you selling yourself and your image? You have to know specifically what it is in order to set up everything else about the business. Why are consumers going to buy that from you? What differentiates you, your product, your services from somebody else's? Is it better in terms of computer games? I mean, there's a vast market out there. I haven't played games in quite some time with young kids, but there's a lot of options. What's going to make your game better than the next person? What's going to make your company that's going in and patching games or working on the new technology for games better than the other ones that are out there? When do you intend to sell it? Is this something you intend to do the next few weeks, the next 6 months, the next 3 years? If you've got a long-term project, what's going to change between now and the point where you're ready to go to market? As you guys know, technology is changing every day. You may develop a product today, but if you're not going to have it ready for 6 months even in your industry, 6 months could be a changer. There could be 2 or 3 more steps out by then. You're looking more long-term, a year, 2, 3 years, technology is becoming the point where it's becoming obsolete over that time period now. Who are you going to sell it to? Who's your market? Is it kids? Is it gamers? Is it adults? Is it grandparents? You have to be able to dive in, and you might have something that crosses multiple markets, and you can market that to various groups. But you have to know that target market. You're always going to have that one target that you're pushing for that fits your demographic for whatever it is that you're selling. And finally, where are you going to sell your products and services? We said maybe you have a brick and mortar store. Maybe it's online. Maybe you're doing freelance development. But you have to know where you're going to be in order to know where you're going. So marketing for me, I think this was probably one of the biggest things, and it's one of the most important things out there for any business. There's that old saying, when business is good, you have money to market, and when business is bad, you need to market. And that's something that, right off the bat, you should always have to market, whether it's yourself, your products, your services. So for me in business, I've got a lot of different aspects that I'm marketing for, depending on the time of the year or what we're trying to push. Might be Lego birthday parties, maybe collectibles, maybe new in box sets, could be Lego Duplo sets for young generation, might be gift cards. And every single one of these I'm marketing to a different demographic. Birthday parties, we're looking at moms with young children. Biggest demographic for us, 5 to 15 years old. Now, we've had some adult parties as well, but those, of course, are not the norm. But I think we all know that for the most part, moms are the ones that are planning birthday parties for kids. Again, this is generalizations or exceptions to the rules, but I've got to get that message out to parents. Collectibles are adult males for the most part. You're looking for more expensive stuff, rare stuff that generally has a higher price tag to it. Kids, most of the time, they may want it, but they don't have the finance in order to support that. So you're looking at adult males for my business. New in box Minecraft sets, good example. It's younger boys, 8 to 10. Minecraft, what an incredible product started off. I mean, it's just absolutely went crazy. I know it's still building in the crossovers, but of course, Lego's picked up on that as well and picked up on it years ago. And it's one of the very successful line for Lego, and just something that's kind of crossed those boundaries of, computer gaming and hands-on play. Lego Duplo sets, it's parents with newborns and toddlers, males and females. Duplo is one of those products you can get into a kid's hand from the day they're old enough to hold something. Both my girls had it, a few months old. It's big enough they can't swallow it, but, the quicker you can get something in the hand, it helps out with the dexterity, and, we're going to push products to that. Gift cards is kind of the catch-all. It's a little bit of everyone, but anybody that walks in the store looking for something for their grandson or their niece and their nephew, but they don't know if they're into Star Wars or Minecraft or Ninjago, or they like the free build, or they like architecture, that's where gift cards come into play. It's not necessarily one of those things you spend a lot of money on advertising, but it's one of those things you always have to be aware of and make sure consumers know that you've got it. Aunts, uncles, most of the time they know their kids, grand or nieces and nephews, they like Lego. They just don't know exactly what they like. Again, this was the hardest thing for me as a business owner, is figuring out marketing, because it's different. And it's different in Columbus, Georgia than it is in Atlanta, Georgia. Different in Atlanta than it is in New York. And you've got to drill into your market and your target audience and what resonates with that audience. the mindset of your audience here is different from the mindset in super scale large city. Mindset again would be different in Columbus than it would be if you got out into really rural areas. So shop small, and anybody that's looking to start a small business, you guys should understand your impact on the community that you live. Whether you're shopping, setting up a retail location locally, whether you're setting up an office to do development, still going to be part of that local small business network. So studies will show you, and again, you'll see a little variation on dollars and impact out there, but for every $100 earned by a small business, 70% of that stays in the local economy. Only $43 of non-locally owned businesses stay in the local economy. So it's a great impact to support your local businesses or to open a local business yourself. You're not only being able to support yourself, but you're also giving back to the community at the same time. It may not necessarily feel like it, but you know your money stays in the place where you live for the most part. That's where you go shopping. That's where you spend the majority of your time. Small businesses help to bridge a sales and service gap that national companies just can't do. National companies is a very more rigorous set structure. Your small businesses, typically the ones that are going to stay open late for you on Christmas Eve, if you call them and say, hey, we had a problem, little Johnny's Lego set didn't make it in the car with us, can we come and get one? You know, those big businesses, most of the time, you know, closing time's 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, that's when they're shutting the doors and going home. Small businesses accounted for 60% of the new jobs created since the end of the recession. Now, that was quite some time ago, but small business growth continues to drive, it continues to pick up. There are more people that are realizing that, hey, they want to work for themselves, whether they're doing contract work or freelance work or development. But that's all creating jobs where it's not going into a corporation, it's staying local in some form. Nationally, small businesses donate 250% more to charity than the chains. To me, that's a great number. I think Columbus, we're very lucky. We've got some huge companies that do a lot of great things in our community, but nationally, not everyone's like that. And small businesses are the ones that are supporting your schools and supporting, you know, your local organizations, your local nonprofits. So advice to you guys, if you're starting a small business, once you've done your research, do it again, do it again, do it again, and have somebody else check it. You can research. Always, 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 always do what you say you're going to do. I can't stress that one enough. It's one of those, your word is your bond. If you say you're going to do it, you need to stick to that, even if you decide that necessarily wasn't the right thing or you should have done something else, or heck, you just wanted to do something else. You've already made that commitment and you have to stick to it. Never assign a task to an employee that you're unwilling to do yourself. If anybody's had a job where it tells you to go clean the bathrooms and you know that they never went and have ever cleaned them or are willing to do it themselves, if you're not willing to do those small tasks, how can you expect your employees to be willing to do those small tasks? Down to the little things of, hey, the bathroom's a mess, we've got to go clean it. It just needs to be taken care of. It's the right thing to do. Never leave a task until tomorrow that you can complete today. You never want to leave work on your desk if you can avoid it. Now, there's going to be days you have work that rolls 2 or 3 days, but if you have the ability to complete the job today, get it knocked out. You may say, hey, tomorrow is going to be a light schedule. I'll finish it tomorrow. But what happens tomorrow when something else lands on your desk and all of a sudden you've got the work from the day before and you've got this new work that you have to take care of? All of a sudden, the task that you could have completed today may get pushed out a week from now before you get a chance to complete it. Or it may get pushed out 6 months or may never get done at all, and it may have been a great idea. Never stop educating yourself. That doesn't necessarily mean when you're done with school, go back and sign up for another degree, but you can go online, read, follow people online, follow those business owners, CEOs, small business owners, local politicians, local figureheads. Find out what they're reading, find out what they're working on. Educate yourself that way. Even if it has nothing to do with your industry, find something that you enjoy or you're passionate about or interests you just a little bit. Spend time reading and educating yourself on it. And make it personal. You'll hear a lot of times, hey, it's business, it's not personal. When it comes to you managing your small business, it's always going to be personal. Whether it's your employees, small business, small workforce, typically right off the bat until you grow, You're going to have a personal connection with those employees. You're going to have a personal connection with customers and with consumers. And understand that, yes, it is a business and you have to make business decisions, but it doesn't mean to say you can't be personal along the way as well. Recommended reading for me. It's read a lot of books over the years. These are ones that have stood out for me. You can shoot a picture. I know Rob has got a copy of this, so if you're interested in it. But the more you read, the better input you can get management-wise. If you're going to run a small business, get as many management books and techniques as you can possibly get. Read them all. Somewhere in the midst of all of those, you'll find a way that works for you. There's not one of these that's the right way to do it. I don't think there's a book out there that's the right way to manage or the right way to start a small business. But the more information you give yourself and the more you read, the better off you're going to find the right combination that works for yourself. All right, well, that's all I've got. Any questions I can answer for you guys today?
If you want to come up and ask your question to the mic for the live stream. So quick question, a lot of franchisors will require you to have a business plan in place and often you have a template for a business plan. I'm guessing you have had a business plan, at least when you started.
Yep.
How would what you do now, well, first, can you describe the business plan, and then how would you do it differently now than when you first started the franchise?
No, yeah, that's a great question. And yeah, having a business plan together, I mean, that's absolute number one thing. Whether you're looking for investors, looking to invest in a franchise, it's something, no matter what happens, unless you're just going to 100% fund it yourself, you're going to be required to have. Even if you're funding it yourself, you should do it. It's the right way to get the information down. It's never something you should shortcut on. But it's kind of the heart and soul. And when you first open a business, that's what's going to guide you through those first year or two of business, is that business plan. You're going to formulate projections on numbers. You're going to formulate your budget before ever opening the doors or ever selling anything. All the information comes from a lot of research, and it's going to be different for every single business that you open. I'd definitely go back and tweak some things now that I would from before. A lot of the information that I gathered and formulated my business plan was talking to other store owners, other franchise owners from Bricks and Minifigs franchise, but also other local franchises as well, and how their current setup differed from kind of the national trend on things. Numbers were changed. There's a lot of numbers specifically. Obviously, I can't discuss in specifics, but percentages of maybe what your payroll in Columbus, Georgia is going to differentiate from payroll percentages in, Knoxville, Tennessee, or New York City. Your general customer flows, a lot of, as we're setting up projections, is when are your customers going to shop your business? What are the things you have going on? For Bricks and Minifigs, we do a lot of birthday parties on the weekend. That's also when the majority of people go shopping, is on the weekend. So you know that doesn't matter what the sales numbers are, you have to have a set amount of people in the store to cover birthday parties and customers and sales. And a lot of the numbers, you don't have them ahead of time. You make the best projection you can. But that business plan is also a living document. So a year in, when we hit our year mark in April, we sat down and reconfigured all the numbers, reconfigured all the budget to budget for year two and to make sure we're staying on with that. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, what were the specific areas when you got that you had never thought about before? What did it?
I've been lucky that I got to work on business plans with some previous employers. So there was a lot of stuff that I saw that wasn't necessarily new. Now, when you talk about small business ownership, of course, there's not as many buckets as there necessarily are in some big corporation type things. Whether it's fees, franchise fees, estimated sales, payroll. But what you find with small business is your percentages are way higher than they're going to be for a corporation. So payroll percentage for a small business, you may be looking in double digits, whereas for a corporation, you're a lot of times looking in low single digits for the cost of payroll for them to operate that business, whether you're talking, big box Walmart or Home Depot or Target versus small box store like a Bricks and Minifigs or small local restaurant. So yeah, payroll percentages was probably one of the biggest things, and kind of doing the analysis that was, hey, we're definitely going to have to allocate more here because it just takes more for a small business to operate that way.
I'll ask a question about hiring, since I know a lot of folks here are going to be job hunting soon.
Mhm.
As an employer of a small business, you generally have to find more of a generalist. You have to find people who do a lot of roles.
Yep.
So, what are you looking for in employees, and what impresses you most about a potential employee?
Yeah, for me, it's all about personality. If someone comes in, they're outgoing, they've got a great personality. Uh, we can teach them the product, we can teach them the process. Uh, they don't have to be a Lego expert walking in the door. I mean, there's certain things for me that are definitely a plus, being familiar with Lego product, being familiar with pop culture, your Star Wars, your superhero, obviously all that translates. But biggest thing for me is attitude and enthusiasm. Someone comes in the door and they've got a great attitude, we can teach them the rest. So I think you'll find out with most employers, even past history for myself with some of the big companies, it's a case of we can teach them the ropes, teach them the process, but attitude is everything. So, any other questions?
How long have you been open?
A year and 4 months. So, yeah, we made it past the first year, so that's always a good thing. So, second milestone will be the 5-year mark. That's the next big one based on the statistics. So.
When are you putting the girls to work?
Great question. My 9-year-old is interning this summer with me, so she made the choice that she wanted to come to work every day. She's got special projects that she does, and in fact, she's made a Mario wall that we're going to be putting up next week. So she's got a ton of Mario figures and Mario, whether it's the mushrooms or the brick walls or Mario. She made this great Yoshi that sits probably right about a foot high that we're going to make this Mario montage above the doors of the building. So that's a project she picked for the summer. So I'm excited to start getting it up next week. So 4-year or the 5-year-old, once she gets a little bit calmer and a little more focused, we'll get her in. So. She'll spend all day building minifigures and the exact same minifigure with as many times as she can. So you'll have 50 of the same minifigure out of the tables lined up. So, but repetition. So, but she's getting there as well. So, but no, I mean, I think, and that's one thing my wife and I talked about, the advantages, 9-year-old will have a lot of benefit from, coming in and saying, hey, she went to work and, she cleans glass, she cleans the floor. It's not just going to the Lego store to play all day, and, we make her do her reading and schoolwork while she's there as well. But she coming in and putting a good use. So.
If there's time for it, but kind of your origin story, what made you decide to leave the corporate world and go out on your own?
Yeah, so biggest thing for me was time with family. So worked a couple of small jobs, got into Home Depot, and then when I was at Big Lots, had our first child. We went through a lot of management and personnel issues at Big Lots when I was there, unfortunately, and left me spending 70, 80, 90 hours a week with a newborn baby at home that I didn't get to see very often. So it was 6, 7 days a week. We were down to, we should have had, I think 3 salarieds and we had 2. So we were working 6, 7 days a week and sometimes open to close. So it was just one of those, work for family, I think at the end of the day. So work can be fun, but at the end of the day, we're working for a purpose. Most of us don't work just out of pure enjoyment. It's for an end goal, whether that's spending time with family or, going on vacations or money to work on a muscle car or whatever the case is. For me, I love spending time with family. I love work, as well. I'm a workaholic and, I had to get in a position where I wasn't spending nights in hotel rooms and, gone for 3, 4, 5 days at a time. So, yeah, no problem. Thank you. Any other questions?
Someone in chat wanted to know if they could get your slideshow anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely, I'll provide it, make sure Rob's got a copy of it.
Mhm.
And,
Okay, and we'll put up the link.
yeah,
All right. Thanks. Awesome.
no problem. All right, well, I appreciate you guys hanging on. I know you've had a very long day and very much off topic with game development, but you've got some great resources if you're in Columbus now. Frank with Startup Columbus, and of course he's been around with Columbus Makes It, providing a lot of great services for Columbus for quite some time. You've got Score in Columbus as well. So, I mean, the resources are out there. So if you're considering small business and working for yourself, Don't think you're in it alone. There's a lot of people out in the community that want to see you succeed, that want to see Columbus succeed. So reach out to those business owners. They may not necessarily be able to directly help you, but maybe they know somebody that can. So thank you, guys.